Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address in Parliament today, the 8th of March 2023. This is in accordance with Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, which stipulates that the President shall, at the beginning of each session of Parliament and before the dissolution of Parliament, deliver a message on the state of the nation to the Parliament.
The State of the Nation address is expected to, amongst others, highlight the government's key policy objectives and deliverables for the year ahead, as well as the achievements of the government and the challenges faced so far. Now, to give us updates on what is expected in the President's address is Ghanaian journalist and political editor Wilberforce Asare. He joins us live from Accra, Ghana. Good morning, Mr. Asare. Good to see you again this morning.
It's good to be with you after your elections.
We're not quite done. We have a few more days.
We have the governorship elections coming up this weekend, so there's still a little bit of tension. But congratulations, of course.
I can only wish you well.
Absolutely.
We need it. Thank you.
Ghana's Independence Week, that is what I will call it. Congratulations to you and, of course, other Ghanaians there. But I want to, ask about what we should be expecting from President Akufo-Addo's address.
Well, so yes, we just celebrated our 66th independence anniversary, and 2 days after, the president is heading to Parliament, where he's going to fulfill the mandatory and statutory requirement of the Constitution to tell the people's representatives the state of the nation. And a lot of things have been happening in the country the last 1 year. And that is because, as you well know, globally there has been economic crisis, and Ghana has equally been affected by this economic crisis. Now, with the State of the Nation address, the president is expected to give the people's representatives a rundown of this crisis and what his administration has been doing to address the crisis in order to alleviate the sufferings of the Ghanaian people. So predominantly, his speech is going to be on the domestic debt exchange program that government introduced over the last 6 months. It's a program that was introduced to be able to manage the country's debt so that Ghana will be able to secure a deal with the International Monetary Fund. Now, linked to that is also the external debt arrangements that Ghana is currently undertaking, which is also very important. So domestically, there is debt, but externally, Ghana also has debt that it needs to be able to manage. And that's a process that has already started. So I believe that the president's State of the Nation address is going to be heavily dominated by the economic challenges that they are in as a country, which is largely influenced by external forces, external shocks. And he's going to be telling the Parliament what his government has been doing to address these challenges. Now, beyond economic challenges, we also expect that the president will touch on issues concerning social infrastructure. Social infrastructure because the government has been embarking on very ambitious programs in terms of road infrastructure, for example. It's been doing multiple road constructions across the length and breadth of the country. Some of them have been put on hold. There have been agitations. For example, in our second biggest city in the Ashanti region, the government is constructing up to 5 different interchanges, and some of them have been put on hold. People are asking questions. And so social infrastructure is also going to feature prominently in the president's address. I think that the last part of his address will focus on health and health issues, and that's because we've been having some health concerns about shortage of vaccines, for example, for measles and what have you. The government also embarked on the construction of about 111 hospitals in districts in our country that hitherto didn't have health facilities. People want to know an update on those health facilities because they say that your health is your wealth. So these are some of the things that I believe the president is going to be focusing on as he addresses the people of the Republic.
All right. There's so many areas that the last address held, if we look at the last State of the Nation address, there's so many conversations that we had there on infrastructure, COVID-19 related exposure, and how much the country had spent to contain COVID-19, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and how that had impacted the welfare and high cost of living in Ghana. So many conversations, tourism, infrastructure, and the likes. If we look at this year, are we expecting to see certain areas where things have improved? And what would you say is the strength of this State of the Nation address to the people of Ghana?
Well, okay, yeah, so that's a very interesting question. And the strength of this particular State of the Nation address will be the measures that the government has taken in the year 2022 to address the economic challenges. The fact that the government was able to pull through the domestic exchange program, where it targeted to get about 80% of bondholders to be rolled on, the government went as far as getting about 85%. So that was kind of a big success. And so I believe the president is going to talk about it, and the fact that the people of Ghana have joined forces with him to be able to rescue the economy. I think that the other leg of your question has to do with the issues of COVID-19. Is something that has dominated. In fact, the finance minister has had occasion to go before Parliament and to tell Parliament how the monies that the government borrowed during the peak of the COVID-19 era was. In fact, the Auditor General in our country has also performed audit of the expenditure and has presented his report. Some normalities were identified, and it is left with Parliament's Public Accounts Committee to go into the report of the Auditor General and to make further recommendations. So in terms of COVID, I want to believe that we might be putting away the impact of COVID on our finances, even though it is the reason for the remedies that the government is coming up. And that's because enough has been reported, enough has been said on it. Now, the focus really will be on recovering the economy, because you remember that the president will, I believe, will reiterate the fact that he did say that at the peak of the COVID, he did say we know how to recover the economy, but we don't know how to bring people back to life. And by virtue of saying that, he was by extension saying that the Ghanaian economy will take a big hit, but over a period of time, it can be repaired. However, if you die, none of us human beings can bring you back to life. And so I believe that that is going to be the driving force of what the president will say when it comes to the issues of COVID-19 and the impact that it has had on the Ghanaian economy and the standard of living. Again, the Russian-Ukraine war will also feature prominently because essentially it is that war that exacerbated the problems that we have globally and also here in Ghana. If the Russian-Ukraine war did not happen some 1 year ago, the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic had started, and it appeared it was going very well. But when Russian-Ukraine war came into the scene, it disrupted virtually everything, global supply chains, everything, and it actually exacerbated the problem even beyond what everybody was imagining. So I believe that the things that the president will focus on and also talk about. Lastly, I will quickly add that over the last 6 years, the president and his government believes that they have achieved a lot of things. And so in spite of the prevailing challenges, I believe that the president will also take advantage of that platform to tout some of the achievements of his administration. And it will come with shouts from the majority side of things, but with the minority side, they definitely will counter some of those things that the president is likely to say when he addresses Parliament.
Well, I was going to, just quickly, point out that, it seems like Ghana is one of, the only countries that, one of the few countries that continues to blame the Russia-Ukraine war for its economic crisis. A lot of countries, have been able to survive, regardless of the war or without the war. So it might also be the failings of the Ghanaian, structure and the Ghanaian economy itself to be so shaken by a war that is, millions of miles away. And of course, I understand the supply chains that you mentioned, but still, it might also put questions to the Ghanaian, economic structure. But I also want to ask about, what the Ghanaian people feel. So President Nana Akufo-Addo might talk about his achievements and the plans that he has for the future, but what do the Ghanaian people themselves feel about how Ghana has been run under his administration and, about plans moving forward? There's a lot of talk, but what exactly is the reality on ground?
Right, so that's a brilliant question if you ask me, and I think that the issues about the feelings of the people of Ghana, I can say mixed. It's mixed because prior to the commencement of COVID-19, the people of Ghana saw some kind of relative improvement of the Ghanaian economy. So this economy was growing between 2017 and 2020 at about 7%. And then all of a sudden, COVID-19 comes and it halts virtually everything. And the evidence of it was that the growth that you were experiencing prior to COVID went down all the way to almost zero, and probably even in the minus. And that's because there was lockdown, nobody was going anywhere and all that. I believe that the real impact has everything to do with the COVID-19 and not necessarily the Russia-Ukraine war. The Russia-Ukraine war exacerbated an existing problem. It did not bring the problem. And that is one of the things that has been the focus or the indication lines of the administration, that it is an exacerbation of issue and not necessarily the cause of the issue, because the cause of the issue was the pandemic, which brought about a lot of difficulties and challenges. So ordinary Ghanaian on the streets are essentially not happy at the economic challenges that we are in as a country. They are seeking immediate solutions to these challenges and are not ready to take any excuses either from the government or from any other state actor as far as the challenges are concerned. Ghanaians just want the challenges fixed, and it appears that the government is identifying with the demand of the people and to make sure that it comes out with programs that will lead it to rescuing the economy from the challenges that it is in right now. And just to clarify that, the real problem of the economy and other global economies was the COVID-19 pandemic. And unfortunately, when the process of recovery started, a war that started, a geopolitical war. And once you say a geopolitical war, you must know that the war may be happening in a particular geographical location. It has an external impact. And that's because it is a geopolitical war. It's not just an isolated or a local war. It's geopolitical. And so its impact, again, will be geopolitical. That's what I think the government has been trying to explain to the people as far as this Russia-Ukraine war is concerned and the COVID-19 pandemic is concerned.
I mean, so many conversations to unpack, but we thank you very much for spending your day with us. And we do hope that we want to wish the women of Ghana happy International Women's Day. We hope that as part of the State of the Nation address, something will be said about what is done for women and how women should be involved in governance and be given more access to digital innovations and technology. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, it will. And I'm not on my show today because the entire show is being held by women.
I love
I'm not going on the...
Thank you for that notice, because after this, I'm probably going to kick Osage out of the show.
Yeah, you should.
All right.